Welcome to another edition of the Business of AI podcast. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Tom Mason from Awareness AI. So, Tom, welcome to the podcast.
Great. Thank you, Tim, for having me.
Yeah, it's good to see you online, and we've seen you at many events over the last couple of months. And I'm really keen to understand more about what you're doing at Awareness AI, and who you're helping and how you're using AI. So maybe if we could start off with just learning a bit more about you and sort of, what's your background and why did you set up Awareness AI?
Yeah, so I started researching into the area about a year ago, last January, and my research looked into how AI systems infer trust in sources, because the field which I operate in looks at AI representation and recommendation within models of AI, such as ChatGPT and Gemini. So this research helped formulate a framework to create opportunities for organizations which look to improve this. So then we launched Awareness AI late August, about 7 months ago. So I've been working with organizations to help improve their AI representation and recommendation within different models of AI.
Thanks, Tom. So if I understand this correctly, is it within that sort of almost the geo space there
Yeah,
where
exactly.
Amazing. Well, I'd love for you to give us a bit of sort of background on your research and how you sort of kind of why you wanted to focus in on this area, because just to go back a few years, it used to be that everyone was obsessed with SEO.
Yeah.
And that's something that people understood. There's some companies, if you did some work, you get to the top of the organic search results, and other companies wouldn't. And now with the AI, most search engines will have an AI results that come at the top of the page, and it sort of feels a lot of the time like a black box. In terms of how do you make sure you're doing the right thing to get to the top of the AI search results there. So how did you decide this is the area that you wanted to focus on with your research?
Yeah, so when looking at SEO and GEO, it's important to look at the shift. So the shift which is happening is from search to answer. So SEO was, to put it broadly, about ranking on Google. And when users would search for a question, they would search Google and they would look through websites and links and make a choice. But now what's happening is that more and more people are starting to ask models of AI like ChatGPT questions, which is then providing them a summarized answer of all these websites and links. So less and less people are doing the research on Google and the trust in a AI summary, basically. So this is meaning that an AI is therefore influencing an organization's reputation, perception, and it's acting as the first point of sale for organizations. So this shift really what I saw last January, and this is what encouraged me. It was a bit like a light bulb moment where I was thinking, how does an AI system actually know which organization to recommend? And how does it actually know how to represent them when a user asks a question about an organization?
Yeah, and it strikes me as you were kind of explaining that if I'm a business, and I do occasionally do this for UK AI, right? So I'll ask ChatGPT, hey, what do you know about UK AI, to see what it says.
Yeah.
And I remember doing that a year ago, and it had a bit of information and it was a bit inaccurate. Not It hadn't made it up, thankfully, but it was just a bit inaccurate. It pulled in from some weird sources, and I would have preferred some of the things it said first of all to be a bit more explanatory. And but now I've looked at it more recently, and it's actually improved, and it's got a lot of very good. And it's kind of, if I'd have wanted to design it, it probably would have looked a little bit like how it is now. So there's one part of the task here, which is monitoring, for businesses to actually monitor how that is changing and what it looks like, and sort of measuring that sort of what it looks like. But then I suppose the other part of it is, how do you change it? How do you actually influence it? And what do you need to do structurally or otherwise to actually change it? So could you maybe talk about, where do you fit in there? Are you monitoring, or are you influencing, or are you doing both?
So we start off with a one-time audit, which starts off by diagnosing the problems. So we would act as a customer or a user, and we'd ask up to 100 questions or prompts to all of the 6 major models. So we would ask, how do you describe X organization, or how do I contact your organization? And these questions help identify any problems that are occurring. So ChatGPT may be returning an incorrect phone number to customers or users, or it might be describing the organization incorrectly, or it might just not be recommending your organization. So once we've completed prompt testing to identify and diagnose the problems, we can then link opportunities to these problems. So every single prompt and question, we can analyze where the information was gathered from by the AI model. So we can see the sources which it pulled from, and we can compare it to the organization's website as the source of truth to help us understand if it's bringing back correct or incorrect information.
Great, thank you. So you focus more on that sort of monitoring side, that what you call the audit there. So if I'm a company and I've gone through that process, I've identified, or you've helped me identify the problematic areas, then what? Do you sort of help them go and fix it? And what does that sort of fixing look like?
Yeah, so we act as a consultant, if you like. So we provide recommendations, opportunities to fix specific areas, any problems within an AI model. So an area could be poor, it's describing your business poorly or incorrectly. So here we're looking at the representation risk of hallucination. And what hallucination is, why it happens, is because the AI model is lacking enough information about the organization to describe it well enough. So it's filling the gaps, basically. Because it can't find enough information to describe the organization, it's making things up. So then it hallucinates and it gets things wrong. So that's where the issues occur there. But then after our one-time audit, we offer a maintenance, and you can monitor your prompts, basically. So this is how you'll see progress, because if you have a one-time prompt, you're just seeing where you are now. But you can then monitor your prompts every single day to see progress in the change in how ChatGPT, let's say, is describing you.
Yeah. Okay, so that's really interesting. So then it's almost that sort of ongoing monitoring process to understand where those gaps are and how that changes over time. And that's sort of I can see why that would add a lot of value to a business. What sort of uptake are you finding as you're going out to market now? Are there particular areas you're focusing on? Is it more sort of SMEs? Is it more mid-sized businesses or large businesses? And what are the sort of the areas that you're seeing where people are really keen on getting your help?
Yeah, so we've worked with a few SMEs around cybersecurity, really, but we're more now focusing on larger organizations and public-facing organizations, because we worked with quite a large public-facing organization, a museum trust, and what their issue was is that they had visitors who were asking ChatGPT questions such as, what can I see in this museum? And visitors were asking about artifacts that hadn't been there for 5 years, because ChatGPT was pulling out of date information about the museum, about artifacts that hadn't been there for 5 years. And then as we were working with this museum, part of our prompt testing was to ask if it was open on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. On their website, they published an update, a banner saying they're closed on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So you would expect all 6 models to come back and say they're closed, don't go visit the museum. But 4 out of the 6 models came back and said that they were open. So this would create big issues for the museum, because if you trusted that information and visited the museum, did the journey, you would have quite frustrated visitors when it's not open. And the issue here is that when you publish an update to your website, it takes up to 2 weeks for a AI model to see it, to crawl it and actually see it as fresh information. So this is the problem, basically. And then we'd identify the opportunity, which would be the use of IndexNow and Schema, basically. So I think public-facing organizations are feeling the pain, if you like, right now, because they have visitors who are asking AI questions about the organization. So that's who we're targeting, really.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense. Just to go back to what you were talking about there, about those sort of technical aspects of it, crawling and schema and those kind of things. I remember those from the SEO days, right? So
Yeah.
there's similar sort of processes, similar sort of things. But um, how does it work with the modern crawlers which are being used by LLMs? You've probably got a bit of insight here, and it'd be useful to share with the audience, because I think a lot of people would think that the LLMs pull data in, and it's almost kind of like a once is done sort of thing, partly because of the vast cost of having to pull in the entire internet all the time. So how does it work in terms of how they're going out and understanding whether a new page has been published, or, like you say, a banner about to change to opening times? How do they ensure they do that? Is it just an ongoing crawling basis? Are they using the same sort of web spiders that search would have used?
Yeah, so when it crawls your website, it then sees new information. As I was saying before, it can take 2 weeks for brand new information, but that's when it will be updated in its training data. So a really important part to look at when it is crawling you is structured data and schema, which was a part of SEO. And structured data for models of AI like ChatGPT, it summarizes what's important on the website. And this is one of the key recommendations I would provide to organizations, is having schema. Because if you don't have schema, ChatGPT might see 50, 60 pages of information. And what schema does, it shows ChatGPT what's important. So it would show it your services, your prices, all the good things said about you, and things like that. Because if you don't have this, it's not going to know what's important. And it will probably go to another source to find information about your business. And this source would probably be a third-party source, where someone else might be representing your business, or it might be out-of-date information.
So yeah, so in terms of what's coming up next, what are the sort of the big growth areas for you? Where are you sort of seeing the opportunities? Is this a big enough field that this is keeping you busy, or are you thinking about other products and services as well?
I would say this is probably a big enough field to keep me busy right now. Over the past couple of weeks and months, I've really seen quite actually an uptake in understanding, but also need for geo. It's interesting because you see it a bit in the news. Organizations are already starting to have issues around PR and AI models, and where it's telling users incorrect information, then that's been, basically AI is representing organizations. And if you're misrepresented, they kind of blend the AI and the organization into one. I've seen it recently with mental health overviews and AI. So people are asking AI about mental health advice, and it's coming back with incorrect information. And this causes a lot of problems because it's quite a sensitive area, and misinformation in that area can have quite negative effects. So it's causing a lot of issues with hallucination and misinformation. And I think a lot more organizations now are starting to feel this effect. So
yeah, I think you're absolutely right. There's a huge risk, a reputational risk for businesses if they don't understand this, and if they act retrospectively, and if once they try to then act, they act too slow, or actually if they act too fast and get it wrong, right? So there's all these kind of linked risks there, and what you're doing is you're able to help them proactively manage this risk by doing the monitoring, and then putting in place some strategies on an ongoing basis to help them to address some of those risks before they happen and before they snowball.
yeah, definitely. I think it's important now for all organizations to understand what AI is saying about your organization, because the difference between SEO and GEO, a big part of it, is that, let's say one negative comment is left about you on the 10th page of Google. A user probably wouldn't see that because it's hidden away, but AI sees absolutely everything. So if there's one negative comment on the 10th page of Google that is hidden away, AI is going to pull that and it's going to give it to the user. And you probably wouldn't know it's there because it's hidden away. So I think that's important to understand, that geo and reputation management, they fall hand in hand, because it's now just made reputation management more important than ever, but within AI models.
Yeah, hugely, and I think that's it, isn't it? Because in the past, thinking about a search engine results page, you would have a lot of information. So if you're looking for something, you would expect there to be a lot of information on that one page, and you would compare things, and you maybe think, oh, okay, well, they would say that because they're that company, or I balance that because I know that there's two different voices there, or whatever on that page. But with Geo, if you're just getting the one response at the top of that search engine result page, or if you're in the chatbot and you just get the one response and nothing else, there's even more importance to get this right, because you don't have any of those other voices or any of those other sources to cross-reference. Yeah, you've reframed it well in terms of highlighting the why it's such a risk now. I wanted to ask you about the different models that you're using. I think you said you compare 6 different models. Are you seeing that some models are, well, firstly, which model are you comparing, and are you seeing that some of them have different ways of being able to process this data? Are some of them better, more accurate, or some of them sort of harder to change? It'd be interesting to compare.
Yeah, so we analyze responses across ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Grok, Perplexity, and Meta. So those are the 6 we focus on. And my research goes into the weightings, and a lot of the weightings is around which AI models weight which sources. So to take Grok for an example, it weights Twitter, or X, really heavily. Actually, it's really interesting. So it's one of the main sources that it pulls from, X. So my recommendation to organizations who want to improve their representation and recommendation within X is to be active on Twitter, or X, sorry, because it pulls it as a really big source. And we found it with our company that we created a X account, and within 2 days it was crawling and it was pulling information from X. So it's really important when you look at AI pulling outdated information that you're fresh. So being active on social platforms such as X helps AI models pull and cite new information about your organization, but it also shows AI models that you're an active company. So I'll say Grok and X is really important. And then when you look at Gemini, you want to be looking at your business profile on Google. So that's what Gemini uses a lot. That's what it weights quite a bit. It uses your opening times from your business profile, how you describe yourself, and things like that. And then ChatGPT and Reddit, there's been quite a lot of talk around this, and it's quite a tricky area actually with Reddit, because a lot of organizations don't really know how to adapt and interact on Reddit, because it's quite a community platform and not many organizations would really engage in it a lot, but it does pull a lot from Reddit. So that is quite a weighted source there.
That's absolutely fascinating, Tom. That's really interesting to hear that. I hadn't thought about the links and the sources being so influential on the results for those particular models. But when you said it, of course, that makes sense that Grok and X are connected, and things like Reddit are really influential there as well. Across those 6 different platforms that you're looking at, I think most people will have heard of ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini. Some of the others are maybe they're sort of emerging, or they're sort of getting established. I mean, Meta, of course, is massive as well. But what are you seeing in terms of the sort of split? Are you seeing that there are a couple of those which are really important for reputational management? When you go in and meet with a business, are you saying if you have to fix a couple, focus on these 2?
Yeah, I'd say the big 2 are Claude and ChatGPT, and then Gemini. Actually, not probably Gemini and ChatGPT, and then Claude would probably come in a close third. And I think ChatGPT and Gemini, they're definitely in a bit of an arms race between 1 and 2. I think sometimes ChatGPT is the top, sometimes Gemini is the top, and it's changing a lot.
Yeah, and so what's the sort of what's the best way to sort of prepare yourself if we've got I know this is what you do, so you might want to sort of if anyone's interested in getting help with this, they should probably come to you and do that audit, and then go and get more of that consultancy that you offer. But if you had to give some top tips now, what would you say to a business that they should focus on doing if there's 2 or 3 things they do listening to this?
Yeah. So I would always recommend first that you ask some very simple questions about your organization. So ask your model of AI, whichever you choose. How would you describe my organization? What are the top organizations in my industry, and how can I contact my organization? Because this will give you a very brief view into how AI is currently describing you, and it will tell you if there are opportunities to improve your representation and recommendation. So once you've understood a very brief baseline of where you stand, also in my research, I look at the most weighted recommendations really, and a few of my top recommendations would be opportunities such as a FAQ page. So a lot of organizations come to me and they say that they want to be cited within AI models. They want to be the source of information that goes to users. So what an FAQ page does is that it directly answers users' prompts. So for example, with Awareness AI, we have an FAQ saying, what is GEO? So if a user asks, what is GEO to ChatGPT, we're looking to be cited, of course, because if you answer the question for AI, it always wants to be as efficient as possible. So it's going to see your question and pull your answer. But also when looking at the representation of your organization, you want to be answering the questions that users might ask about your organization within your FAQ page. So you want to be having, what does Awareness AI do? How can I contact Awareness AI? And all these questions that a user might ask. So then you're the source that's being cited to users and not an outdated third-party source that might have incorrect information.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. That's really good advice. A few good tips there for companies to go and make sure they're doing all of those things. So as you sort of look ahead then to the year 2026, what are the things which are coming down the pipeline that either some of those LLMs are developing or that's happening in the wider sort of geo industry, the wider marketing industry? What are the things that you're most excited about over the next year?
So I think the adoption of AI is becoming greater and greater within organizations and with users, and I think I'm excited to see it grow and see things become more efficient, but also the safer adoption of AI. There seems to be a lot of talk now around adopting AI safely and understanding the risks it brings. And I think it's been really important recently that this has been highlighted, because my research focuses on the risks, of course. And as I was mentioning earlier with the hallucination, it's really important when you're prompting an AI model to give it the information it needs to stop hallucination. So hallucination happens because it doesn't have enough information to answer your query, so it fills in the gaps. So it creates things up. So whenever you prompt an AI model, it's always important to give it all the information it needs, so then it can give you the best response. So I think it's exciting, and it's good that the safe adoption and the greater understanding of around education and the risks of AI is increasing.
Amazing. Well, yeah, as we start to sort of wrap things up then, how can we find out more about Awareness AI and stay in touch with you?
Yeah, so our website is awarenessai.co.uk, and you can contact me at tom@awarenessai.co.uk. And we do offer a free scan, which looks to give you a baseline, as mentioned before, just to give you a brief insight into how you are recommended and represented, to then see if there's any opportunity to improve your representation and your recommendation within models of AI.
Fantastic. Well, Tom, that's been really interesting to talk to you today and find out more about how all these models are really transforming the way in which humans find information, and this whole new world of geo, which you've come along to some of the events we've run around geo as well, but it is a completely new world, and you're very much at the forefront of sort of helping companies to navigate that world and to understand what they need to do to manage their reputation. And I think the interesting thing there is also just helping businesses to recognize some of the some of the processes, whether that be the audit or whether that be some of setting up some of the tips you gave, like setting up the FAQs, helping companies to understand what they need to do there. And in some ways, it's a little bit like SEO was, but then there's this whole additional risk because of the scale of how powerful these models are that you've highlighted. So thank you, Tom, for joining us today. It's been great to have you. Thanks.
Problem. Thank you very much.